Secretary of State Marco Rubio expressed frustration during an interview with ABC News when George Stephanopoulos, the host of This Week, suggested that the Trump administration had made efforts to appease Vladimir Putin. Rubio was visibly upset as he avoided direct questions and made a surprising comparison between the conflict in Ukraine and those in the Middle East. Throughout the 10-minute segment, Rubio emphasized that Donald Trump's main objective was to initiate peace talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The president is essentially saying that there's this terrible war, Rubio stated. It's been ongoing for 3 years, a bloody stalemate, a meat grinder type war, and he wants it to end. How does it end? It's very simple. The only way it ends is if Vladimir Putin comes to a negotiating table. Rubio continued, right now, President Trump is the only person on earth who has any chance whatsoever of bringing him to a table to see what it is he would be willing to end the war. However, Rubio later admitted that the Trump administration was unaware of Putin's demands for a peace agreement, despite several discussions between American and Russian officials over the past month. These talks included at least one phone conversation between Trump and Putin, and an extensive meeting between the Russian leader and Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff in Moscow in February. Rubio himself also met with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov in Saudi Arabia. Maybe their demands will be unreasonable, Rubio speculated. We don't know, but we have to bring him to the table. Rubio even suggested that peace might not be achievable, claiming that Americans had not negotiated with Putin since before Russia's full-scale invasion began in 2022, despite recent engagements. I've said from the very beginning, maybe they don't want a deal either, we don't know, but we haven't talked to them in 3 years, he said. The interview grew more heated when Stephanopoulos questioned why Trump officials refused to label Putin a dictator, while readily applying the term to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Rubio responded, "We've spent 3 years calling Vladimir Putin names. That's not the point. We all understand that Putin is not going to be an easy negotiator. In this regard, we all get that, but we have to start the process to see if something is even possible. And I honestly am puzzled. I just don't understand." Rubio's temper flared further when he compared Trump's handling of Russia's invasion of Ukraine to former President Joe Biden's approach to the conflict between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. The Biden administration berated Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israelis, putting all kinds of conditions and pressure on them to try to get a ceasefire. In this particular case, we've been nice by comparison, and all we're trying to do here is figure out whether peace is possible, he claimed. The climax of the interview occurred when Stephanopoulos referenced comments from Senator Lisa Murkowski criticizing Trump's actions. Even some of your Republican allies are puzzled by the steps that President Trump has taken to placate Vladimir Putin, Stephanopoulos began. Rubio retorted, "Which steps has he taken? Which ones? Are we arming the Russians?" Another tense moment arose when Stephanopoulos highlighted that America had voted alongside Russia and Belarus in a United Nations resolution calling for an end to the conflict without criticizing Russia. Rubio responded, "The job of the UN is to bring about peace in the world. I thought that's what the UN was created to do, to stop wars and prevent them, and that's what the resolution did. Was it antagonistic towards the Russians? Back to the point. But it also didn't praise the Russians." He omitted mentioning that the US also voted against a European-drafted resolution condemning Russia as an aggressor. The final clash between Rubio and Stephanopoulos occurred when the ABC News host inquired about what concessions America expected Russia to make during negotiations. Rubio replied, "Why would I say that on a news broadcast? That's what negotiations are about. That's the problem here again. This is not a messaging exercise, okay? This is can they get to a table, and then there's hard work to be done."